Please video like and subscribe this channel. The war had been simmering for centuries, but no one expected it to come to a boil on a quiet, ordinary day. I was stationed on the edge of the Helix cluster, assigned to the Terran Vanguard's outpost on Meridian 9. A desolate rock world with thin oxygen and jagged cliffs, it was the kind of place that made you question whether the galaxy was worth defending. Most days were routine: patrols, maintenance, and monitoring the faint electromagnetic whispers of the Quorath Empire. The Quorath, an insectoid species with wings like shards of glass and voices that could shatter human eardrums, had never invaded Meridian 9. Not directly, anyway. Not until today. The first sign was the sky. A crimson glow pulsed along the horizon, and I froze, staring as a formation of Quorath ships descended like a living storm. Their wings shimmered against the dying light, each vessel shaped like the exoskeleton of some enormous predator. They didn't attack immediately. They circled, hovering in a display that felt ritualistic. Then, a single voice cut through the comms. It was impossible. Not because the voice was alien, it was, terrifyingly so, but because it spoke in perfect Terran Standard English. And because it carried authority that made every soldier on the station drop to one knee. "Stand down," the voice commanded. "All of you." I knew, instinctively, that it was a queen. The Quorath never spoke to us directly unless it was through one of their sovereigns. And this voice, pure, commanding, unyielding, was the kind that could bend minds as easily as armies. 1,000 questions surged through me, but none dared interrupt the silence. Slowly, one by one, our weapons powered down. The Quorath ships hovered closer, and from the largest vessel descended a figure unlike any I had ever seen. She was immense, towering over most humans, her wings spanning twice my height. Her armor, or exoskeleton, glimmered like liquid obsidian, inscribed with glowing glyphs that pulsed with life. Her eyes, multifaceted yet impossibly expressive, scanned the station. And then she raised her arms and shouted. Not a word. Not a threat. Not even a command. Just a shout. And everything changed. The Queen's demand. Her name, I learned later, was Raylin, Queen of the Quorath Dominion. Her shout, resonating with some kind of psychic frequency, rippled through every nervous system in the station. Guns locked mid-firing, computers froze, and even the turbines seemed to hum in deference. I stumbled back, clutching my helmet, heart hammering. My squadmates were still frozen in place, eyes wide and unblinking. "She wants," one of the soldiers finally stammered. "She wants a meeting. She wants me." I shook my head. "Not just you. All of us." Raylin's voice, now calmer, filled the station. "You have trespassed in my dominion. You have mined resources, altered ecosystems, and sent spies into territories that belong to my people. Yet I see potential in you. Terrans, I offer you a choice." The room quivered, not physically, but in a way that felt deep in the chest, as though the very air had become sentient. "Leave," she continued. "Or stay and pledge yourselves to the Dominion. Refuse, and your worlds will burn." I could feel the soldiers around me shifting, torn between fear and awe. I knew what we had to do. Resistance meant certain death. Survival meant compromise, and none of us knew what that compromise would cost. An uneasy alliance. After hours of tense negotiation, Queen Raylin allowed a delegation of Terrans to board her flagship, the Obsidian Throne. I volunteered, partly out of duty, partly out of curiosity. I wanted to see the Queen up close, to understand the force that had silenced an entire station with a single shout. The ship was vast, organic in design yet terrifyingly efficient. Walls pulsed with bioluminescent veins, corridors shifted subtly as though alive. Raylin met us in a chamber that seemed to stretch into infinity, her presence filling the space entirely. "Why spare us?" I asked. My voice felt small compared to hers. Because, she said, wings folding slightly, I recognize the value of allies. The Dominion is at a tipping point. My enemies are rising within my own court, plotting rebellion. You Terrans, you can tip the balance. It sounded insane. Yet the truth of it resonated in the trembling of the room, in the way her words seemed to vibrate through my chest. You want us to fight, for you? I asked. Yes, she said simply. But not as conquerors. As guardians. Protect my worlds from those who would see them fall. And in return, her eyes softened in a way that seemed almost human. I offer you knowledge. Technology. Peace. The offer was tempting, terrifying, and morally ambiguous all at once. Align with an alien queen whose species had tried to annihilate humanity countless times, or refuse and face the wrath of a being capable of destroying entire star systems with a mere psychic shout. We agreed reluctantly, but with one condition: we would act as advisors, not soldiers. We would guide, observe, and intervene only when absolutely necessary. Raylan accepted, smiling faintly. Wisely chosen. Your courage is noted, Terran Elias. Come, I will show you the Dominion. The heart of the Dominion. The journey through Quorath space was both beautiful and terrifying. Planets with crystalline forests, oceans of liquid nitrogen, skies crackling with energy storms, and cities built from living structures that moved with their inhabitants. Yet beneath the awe was tension. Raylan ruled a species prone to violence and intrigue. Every ship, every officer, every whisper in the halls was a potential threat. We quickly learned the stakes. Court politics within the Dominion were lethal. One misstep could cost us everything. And Raylan's enemies were cunning, hiding assassins in plain sight, spreading misinformation, and staging coups. I found myself drawn closer to the Queen with each passing day. Not romantically, not at first, but by the sheer force of her presence. Her decisions were deliberate, precise, and frighteningly empathetic. She ruled not by fear, but by expectation that her people would rise to their potential, an expectation that we Terrans could see a future beyond our petty squabbles. One night, as the twin moons of her homeworld rose above the city, she confided something to me. I did not shout to scare you, she said softly, standing on a balcony that overlooked the glowing metropolis. I shouted to test you. To see if you would bend, break, or rise. I hesitated. And we rose. Her wings fluttered faintly. Yes. And now, you must continue to rise, Elias. Because the true threat has not yet arrived. The insurrection. The warning came sooner than expected. A faction of the Dominion, known as the Crimson Talons, had declared open rebellion. They sought to overthrow Raylan, to seize control of her fleets, and to destroy the fragile alliance we had just formed. The battle was catastrophic. Starships collided in brilliant arcs of fire. Cities trembled as winged warriors clashed overhead. I fought alongside Terran volunteers and Quorath loyalists, guiding tactics, salvaging supplies, and evacuating civilians. Yet through the chaos, Raylan's presence was unwavering. She descended into the battlefield herself, wings spread wide, armor glowing like molten metal. One shout, resonating with the same psychic power that had silenced us weeks before, sent waves through the battlefield. Enemies faltered, ships stalled, even the elements seemed to obey. I watched, heart pounding, as she turned the tide not through brute force alone, but through sheer will. Every movement, every gesture, every word carried weight. And in that moment, I understood why the Dominion followed her without question. The rebellion was crushed. Loyalists reclaimed the cities. Rebel leaders were captured or fled into exile. And through it all, Raylan remained calm, regal, almost untouchable. A new era. In the aftermath, The alliance between Terrans and the Dominion strengthened. Knowledge and technology flowed between species. Borders once rigid became bridges. And through it all, one truth remained: it had all started with a shout. Raylin's shout. A single, resonating sound that had silenced fear, commanded respect, and altered the course of history. She summoned me to her chamber one last time, wings folded and armor polished to a reflective black sheen. "Elias," she said, voice soft but commanding, "you have proven yourself. You and your people have proven yourselves. But understand this: the galaxy is vast, and peace is fragile. We must remain vigilant." "I understand," I said, standing at attention. But inside, I felt something deeper, a bond, a recognition that transcended species, politics, and war. She extended one of her clawed hands. "And yet," she continued, "there is another lesson. Courage and loyalty are not enough. You must also lead with your heart." I took her hand. For a moment, the galaxy outside disappeared, leaving only the connection between us. In that instant, I understood that one person, one act, one voice, even a single shout from a queen, could indeed change everything. The years that followed were challenging, but K-47 and the Dominion flourished together. I remained at Raylin's side as an advisor and confidant, a bridge between species and cultures. Together, we forged alliances, quelled uprisings, and explored the far reaches of the Helix cluster. And every time I heard that voice, the same voice that had first shouted across the stars, it reminded me of what I had witnessed: that courage, decisiveness, and the will to act could reshape worlds. That history was not written by the many, but often by the few who dared to speak and shout when it mattered most. One shout from a queen changed everything. And in the echo of that shout, we built a galaxy that might just endure,